What is up, everybody? My name's Indy, and the gentleman right next to me is Mr. Jay Powell from the Powell Group Consulting, and welcome to Indie Game Business. Today we've got Oscar from Fundamentally Games, and we are going to talk about the Game Awards a little bit, and how you making the game.
Let me get. I forgot to adjust the mic. All right, real quick, because I think it's important that everybody, says their piece about this. One, if anyone needs an official stance from Indie Game Business and the Powell Group on the Activision, the Ubisoft, all of that horse shit, we are absolutely 100% against it. That sort of discrimination, and especially what we saw this week with people would be stealing the breast milk from nursing mothers out of the refrigerators at Activision. It's a load of bullshit, and it ain't right.
That's weird.
But yeah, it's like we watched the Game Awards last night, and it just absolutely it infuriates me that we have a 3-hour show that is supposed to be like the epitome of the awards for our industry, the Oscars of games, and 90% of that 3 hours is spent with trailers and game announcements. And we don't, not only do the majority of the awards not take place on stage, the people that have worked and this is their moment to shine, they don't even get up and say. I think there were maybe like 3 or 4 awards actually handed out on stage. A lot of them are handed out in the pre-show, if you watch that, or Jeff just like absolutely speed reads through them, doesn't even announce the contestants and the nominations, and just says, and the winner for best audio is blah. It's asinine. And if we had the money, I was so angry last night. I was like, okay, let's just go and do a proper awards category for the investor. For indie games and developers in general, because what they're doing isn't an award show. They should just simply call it the game announcements and leave it at that.
It's a good job we've got the BAFTAs in the UK. It's a good job we've got things like the mobile game awards that the Pocket Gamer guys are doing. I used to be involved with one called the IMGAs for many, many years. So there are good examples out there. It's okay. We can find some good ones. But yeah, I have to say I missed it last night. But I'm with you. I feel you. If you spent that much time watching ads and announcements, I'd like to see something celebrating the craft of games. Well,
honestly, the BAFTAs are the absolute best example. Because you're right. That's the good one. And Oscar, you may have. It sounds like you might be getting an echo through on Discord.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure why, but somebody's commenting in chat.
Yeah, I can see you pulling up. Do you have headphones, Oscar?
Let me just switch on. Normally my echo cancelling works, but I will switch over and sort that out now.
So, I didn't realize that the BAFTAs were open to non-British studios until this year. But yeah, I would say personally, if we had to, deem one of them the official one, it would be the BAFTAs, because that is probably the most proper one. But the other thing is the Game Awards get so full of themselves, and then I was flipping through however 100 channels we have on television these days. It wasn't on television anywhere. It was only on YouTube, and the folks over at Core did a very cool thing where it was actually integrated into Core, and you could go into their world and watch it there. But obviously the general population does not give two shits about it, because it wasn't anywhere on television or cable or anywhere else. You could only watch it online. And then it's just absolute announcement after announcement. I feel bad. There are people that I know that flew, intercontinentally to go to this thing. They get all dressed up. It's a big deal. And then they sit in the theater and watch a bunch of game trailers. It's just, I don't know.
Oscar, you might have to, if you switched over your audio, you might have to leave and then come back into Discord.
I'm just getting the headphones to connect, but it should be fine. I'm just going to get that to sort. My headphones are struggling to connect at the moment, but that's a PC thing. I will come back momentarily.
All right. So while Oscar's resetting, Yeah, that's
I
pretty
meant he should leave Discord.
That's the end of my rant for the moment. But when Oscar gets back, we're going to be talking about a very fundamental thing. It's, why are you making games in the first place? It's an interesting question.
The money. Oh
shit.
The fame and the fortune, right? I want to be Cliff Bleszinski.
Well, at least he was wise enough to, he's not doing it anymore for it right now. So
that's because he made all the money and got the fame, and then now he's
true.
out surfing in the Bahamas. No, I don't know what he's doing.
All right, awesome. All right, Oscar's fixed.
Hopefully, I'm not getting any echo anymore.
All right, let's see. It does not look
wonderfully
like you're
perfect.
echo.
All right, so Oscar, why don't we, for the folks that do not know you and do not know the hat, can you tell folks how you originally got in the industry and give us a concise run through of your career? Otherwise,
concise.
It's like mine, and we'll be
how
here
many
all
hours
day.
do you have?
Yes.
Right, so I made my first pitch into making a game when I was 18, so that is 1987. That's scary. I starting games properly in 1998 when I was running the online gaming service of Wireplay. I went on and built one of the early mobile game platforms in Java for free in the UK. We were the first people to ever use mobile in-app purchase. We were the most successful in terms of revenue per user, but we were very, very tiny user base. I was home architect on PlayStation Home. I was evangelist for Unity, which is where most people have probably seen the hat. That was the original evangelist on Unity Ads, and I'm a co-founder of. I didn't mention PlayStation Home, of course. I was home architect on PlayStation Home, and I'm founder of a publisher and consultant, and all about Loudmouth, which I think there's a few people in the room I immediately recognise. Hi, folks, and I'm sure I've seen me talk endlessly before, probably.
So where do you want to begin, with the fundamental question? So as a little bit of backstory, last week during the conference, Oscar and I were like chatting behind the scenes, and I was like, we just got to get you on here officially and start talking about stuff. And he gave me like 4 different topics, and I'm like, well, they're all good. I don't know which one we should go with, but we picked one. And so the fundamental question when you start in this industry is always, okay, why are you doing this? Why are you making games, and who are you making them for? And with that said, Oscar, I'm going to let you kick it off and outline this stuff for us. Talk to me.
But it's baffling, because even though everybody knows what the answer is, when you're presented with a game, it's the first thing they forget to tell you. And what I often find is that there's an ambiguity in terms of what, making games is the second worst thing in the world. The worst thing in the world being not making games. It's like, it's hard. It's painful. You're trying to get science, technology, maths, art, engineering, all these things to work together in a synchronized way. It's a absolute ache to get this thing, this amorphous living beast that doesn't even conform to the rules of traditional narrative when you try to write stories, doesn't perform in the same way that a sport would perform. There's all these different things and moving pieces and what makes a game. So we don't stop and think, why are we making this? If we don't think who we're making it for, how on earth can we make something that's going to be great? And I was having this chat with Rami Ismail the other day, and it's like, it's okay to make a game because you want to make something for yourself. That's okay. But that's not a commercial decision. That's a hobby decision, I would argue. It could be an art decision, don't get me wrong. I'm quite happy to say, but we're now already telling ourselves why we're making that thing. If we're going to make a game that is a commercial beast because we want to make more games, because we want to be able to eat and feed our family, we want to have something which respects the art of the talent of the people making that. Remember I said the scientists, the artists, the mathematicians, the programmers, all these various skill sets, they have valuable skills that they should be recompensed for. but we're producing a project, a product, a service, whatever it might be, that at some point a consumer is going to pay for. And they're not paying for your time. They're not paying because they like you. I mean, some of them might. I mean, that's nice. I like that. I appreciate that. But most people are paying because they want a service. It's something about your experience that is going to answer some problem or some question that is unresolved by other games. And when we have millions and millions of games out there on every platform imaginable, any kind of perceived way of interacting, where it's almost impossible to imagine a completely purely original concept anymore, surely we have to narrow the field down a bit and say we're gonna put our hat on that one. Does that make sense?
It does, and that's why, even on this show, we constantly say, look, if you're doing this for a hobby or a learning experience or for the art, and you're not concerned about the, actually making money for it, you don't have to listen to us. I mean, if we entertain you during this podcast or one of these conferences, that's one thing, but no worries. But if you're doing it, it's like if this is what you want to do so you can quit doing whatever you're doing and be a full-time game developer, yes, these are questions that you need to answer. So the fundamental, I've got an idea for a game in my head. This is what I want to make based on some decision. How does the developer sit down and go about, answering some of these questions?
Well, my first question is, so what? Now, I'm not being facetious. I'm not being aggressive in that, asking that, by the way. But actually, the question is, so what? That is the question you should ask, because at the end of the day, I want to make this game. I've got this great idea. Well, I've got 1,000 ideas. I probably have about a dozen new twists on existing game ideas every day. But I don't make thousands of games. I mean, actually, if I could, I would. Frankly, just let's be honest, I can't do anything useful. I can't code. I can't draw. I can barely write. What I'm good at is talking. What I'm good at is trying to get other people to do things. I'm good at conceptualizing. So I need a team, and I need a team who's going to believe in what I'm going to do. And I need to get someone to give me money to believe in what I do, that I can get this team that I believe we want to do. You can see the mix of lots of things. So if I don't have an answer to so what for this idea, why this idea is going to have traction, why an audience should care about that idea. In fact, let's go to the next level. Who is this audience? And I don't think you can have one person. I don't think we're making a game for one person. If we are, it's you, and you're going to make a game for you. And if you're lucky, then maybe other people will like games you like. Fantastic. But I don't think that's commercial.
It honestly, Oscar, sounds like you're more well suited to be a cult or religious leader than a.
Hallelujah, brothers! I believe in the power of games.
If your strong points are talking and inspiring teams and getting people to give you money,
yeah,
you should absolutely.
I'm doing the wrong thing.
I mean, that's
This is the downside of being an atheist who loves games. Come on, what's wrong with me?
That doesn't mean we can't make a religion. I mean,
that's true. That's true.
Just
Elron and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. We've got the flying spaghetti monster and
precisely.
We can absolutely do this.
Monster. My cousin had a pastafarian wedding.
Nice.
Genuinely had a pastafarian wedding. I was so. If you don't know, you have to have the person doing the ceremony has to dress up as a pirate. Genuinely true, and it was fabulous, and we all got to wear colanders on our heads. It was amazing. I genuinely think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing when you're able to be yourself. My cousin's fantastic. So, and actually, I still run D&D for her other half as well. So anyway, my point back to the plot. Religion aside, let's talk about the 10 commandments of game development. I need to make a 10 commandments of game development, don't I?
But wait, let's go back to who you're making it for real quick. because you mentioned one of the wrong answers, and
Yes.
one of those wrong answers is I'm making it for myself, or I'm making it for like one person. The other dreadfully wrong answer, and this is you know exactly where I'm going with this, is you sit down with a developer and you're like, who's your target market? And they go, well, everyone. It's like, no,
Yeah, everyone. That means
that
no
doesn't
one.
work.
Everyone equals no one.
Yes.
My other one, which is the other one you could have gone, but everyone is the one. Everyone. Just reminds me. Anyway, by the way, I'm not really impatient. Honest, I'm actually quite nice. I just like to present. It's enjoyable to shout about things and rant. The other one I hate is 18 to 25-year-old men. I don't hate 18 to 25-year-old men. Don't get me wrong, but I hate it when they say it's 18 to 25-year-old men, and that might be for some games a valid target market, but it's also the only target market that people talked about 10, 20 years ago.
I don't think it's
the only
a
market
valid.
they thought existed.
I can't come up with a game that would be a valid demographic for, though.
I can
or
imagine
valid
it might
only
be
demographic.
possible.
Let me put it that way.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. But I'm just throwing it out there that somebody could potentially have one. But let's face it. Why? Why?
I've seen that with my own clients, especially the clients that come in and they're not from the industry, but they have a piece of tech or they have something and they want, to get developers or publishers to use it. And I had one a couple of months ago say, if we're going to do some Facebook advertising, how do we reach gamers? And I'm like, you're not trying to reach gamers. No. The statistics are like somewhere around 80% and maybe even 90% of people in the world play some sort of video game from time to time. I was like, you're trying to reach a specific demographic, but you're not trying to reach. You can't just go on Facebook or Twitter and run an ad set and go, I want to target gamers, because that's not realistic.
And I think it was a Hootsuite report last year that talked about, I think something like 80% of people who are on the internet identify as gamers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow. I mean, you're talking about half the planet essentially actually playing games regularly. I mean, that is when I was in my attic literally playing on my Apple IIe or my mate's BBC Micro or playing D&D, I did do that, I still do that, those things, the idea that our geeky hobby would take over the world, would be the single largest form of digital entertainment on the planet. Even the fact that if you take Newzoo's latest numbers, $90 billion of $175 billion market is mobile games.
Yeah.
The number of people who told me in 2001 that I was crazy for going to join a mobile game platform, that no one's going to want to play games on phones, that no one's going to want a camera on a phone, no one's going to access the internet on a phone. All serious comments. But anyway, let's go back. Even then, even when we were looking at that, what were we looking at when we were trying to design those platforms? Well, we weren't just looking at 18, 25-year-old men. We weren't looking at even, and by the way, if somebody comes to me and says 35 to 45-year-old women because it's a casual game, I'm going to be okay with that, because actually that turns out to be quite a significant demographic. But I'm much more interested if someone turns around to me and says, I have created a persona for my mechanic. So my game design mechanic is based around, let's say, Hohen or pick a name, who's 18 to 35-year-old. They are interested in action and puzzle games on mobile devices. They read the fiction of Brandon Sanderson. We've got a name, we've got an identity, we've got a demographic, we've got a kind of sense of their income, we've got a sense of where their other interests lie, where they're that's a persona. And that's what we're looking at. If we got a persona, if we actually can put a hypothesis, a kind of thought experiment behind individual identities and use them to dissect at different parts of our experience. So we talk about the mechanic, as in the thing you do, the context, which is like your sense of purpose and your progression, all those kind of things, and your metagame, which is for us is the kind of like the mode of use of the device. So, are you holding it in your hand one way? Are you putting it on a desk? Are you, in a bedroom, or the lifestyle fit of the thing, or the social media interaction, all that kind of stuff? That metagame, I look at a different personality or a different persona than I do when I'm looking at the purpose and progression. I look at a different personality with the metagame. Those three persona types allows me to think about the core experience, how we retain users over the longer term, and how we build scale. And they create this longer, really long-term engagement, this kind of network effect that we want to create around an experience. Now, okay, I'm coming from a games as a service mindset. Of course, I'm looking for the long-term retention, but I think anyone can look at any kind of project, not just games, and look at what are the core motivators you're trying to target, and who is it for each of those bits. That's when we start getting sophisticated. That's when we start getting interesting. And I think we get to make better games as a result.
In today's market, though, every game needs to be a game as a service in some way. Even, PC premium games and the example, and I love
someone should have written a book on the topic. I mean, come on.
So your Google has fuzzed out your own book. Oscar has a book
just in case you ever didn't notice.
But we always like to we have the Treese brothers on here a lot, and I probably just got their name wrong again because I never get it right, or at least the pronunciation. But it's like, since they launched their latest game like 4 years ago or something, they've had 100 or 200 updates, and they're content updates. And so even if you are doing that, okay, we're just releasing a premium title, and we're not, it's not a free to play. There's no microtransactions. You still have to think in terms of, your game as a service to be able to retain those. All right. So,
I think actually, just to tap in on that, just quickly, what you've highlighted there is one of the issues, I think, why we've had problems with things like, games as a service and live operations for games which are free to play in the PC space, is because their authenticity around understanding what that proposition was for players. What is the deal has been a broken promise. You're charging them up front and you're charging them in the game. That's a bit of a broken promise. Whereas when you go for free to play and you do it half-heartedly, you just let people down. So let's just work out what it is, the relationship with the player, what they want, and how we communicate what the value is to them better.
So before we got started, Dan and I were talking about crypto and NFT, and it's been on the server. And of course, everybody's talking about, Ubisoft managed to release their most disliked video ever when they said they were going to use NFTs, to the point that they eventually just, delisted the video. How much correlation do you see between crypto and NFT perception right now, which is what I'm going to call it, and mobile free-to-play perception 10, 15 years ago?
I think there's a lot of parallels. I mean, so just for clarity, so I have designed NFTs. I did it in 2017 for a game called Reality Clash. And Reality Gaming is still around. They actually did the NFTs for Floyd Merriweather. I'm not involved with them directly. I'm mates with the guy who runs the company. I'm doing a talk next week at Blockchain World Abu Dhabi, where I'm talking about blockchain, gaming, and the metaverse. But I am personally in this kind of like, it's a bit like talking about camera phones in 2001, because the camera phones we had in 2001 were rubbish. But now you couldn't imagine a phone without a camera. And that's my mindset right now, which is there is a lot of things wrong about the way that the user experience works in blockchain. There's a lot of things wrong in the way that the ethical kind of constraints around blockchain are operating. Now, it's not inherently about the technology for let's use the term cryptography rather than crypto for now. The cryptography behind blockchain is interesting, where it can deliver a unique asset, so a unique experience. This is a object. It is identified by a token I own that token. How do I know I own the token? Because my private key says it's mine. That's interesting from a purely logical point of view. However, when you're in the sea of the emerging world of blockchain, then you hear the word crypto and you hear currency. And then you equate it with all of the sea of scams, of sea of speculation, even just the positive speculation that a lot of people are involved with and they make lots of money on, I find terrifying, and I'm not interested in personally. Just because I don't like I'm not a speculative person. I do enough speculation just trying to work out how to make a game. So I'm not particularly into cryptocurrency. But I am interested in the possibilities that having a non-trusted, as in it doesn't require a single database, asset can deliver. So when I designed an NFT, before there was a standard for it, we had a unique identifier for the NFT. We had a descriptor with all the components that were used in the game. Those assets were locked into the token. We had an API call, which has never been used, but could have been, to record history of those assets. So, and we also built in top trumps, pardon the breakage of, you know what I mean when I say top trumps? I don't want to have to kind of make it ambiguous, but we put data points like in that kind of style, not literally top trumps, but that kind of style, which banded what that asset could do. So anyone else could take that asset raw and interpret it for their game. That didn't have to be only available in our game. That's interesting because now we're getting into what the metaverse is. And I think the metaverse can only exist if you have an ecosystem of interoperable assets. But that doesn't mean that every asset's going to work in every game. That doesn't mean that you can't manage your ecosystem for your game. It doesn't mean you can't manage the economy for your game. You have to make decisions on how you decide to use those blockchain elements. And that's the world that I'm interested in.
That was sense? One of the knee-jerk comments, and I get it. When Ubisoft did their first announcement the other week was, oh, this is absolutely horrible, the worst thing ever, because Ubisoft is going to use it to create predatory design challenges. And I'm like, they already do that. That's
but they do it on their server. This isn't me pointing at Ubisoft. I mean, Ubisoft are fine. I'm okay with Ubisoft in general. I mean, you know,
so case in point, though, and I don't want to knock on the game too hard because I have friends that worked on it, and it's a quality game. But Valhalla, you're talking about a game that you pay $60 for, and then you can fundamentally spend like $300 more to get all the content. Don't tell me that's not predatory. They're already doing it, but it is. It's like everything else. It's not the crypto and the NFT isn't the bad part. It's how you use it. And I'm with you. I think we're years away from seeing, you know, people who can really do the coolest shit with it and make it viable.
But we've got a whole bunch of hurdles to go through. So first thing is, who is actually going to use an asset in multiple games? If I buy a hammer that's a 2D pixel art, I am not going to be suddenly seeing that hammer turn up in Fortnite and be usable as a hammer. I think you should be able to. There's no reason why we couldn't find a way to do it, but we'd have to agree standards. And if anyone's ever lived through the Java standard process, you'll know that that's not fun. Anyway, any standards I'm being a bit mean. I got to do some stuff with the Kronos group, Neil Trevor, who I used to work with at NVIDIA. I was at NVIDIA once upon a time. They did an amazing job, you know, getting the Kronos standards all together, the OpenGLs and all this stuff of the world. I can imagine a standards body like that could come up with a series of commonalities that a design community could tap into. It's not going to happen overnight.
No.
But I can imagine a publisher saying, okay, our games are going to have this common language of how assets are going to be interoperable between them. Let's do that.
And that's where the first company to do, and it's going to start with the publishers, or it's going to start with the established indie devs who are able to self-publish and can do, this sort of stuff. That's exactly where it's going to start.
It'll start small. People will prove the case, and then eventually a new entrant will dominate that space, and the old boys will buy one. That's what happens in this space, is that the dominant players buy their way out of the technological dead ends at the end of. Now, I know that I'm going to be very unpopular for saying that, and this is my personal opinion. I know there's a lot of people who would think simply that blockchain is evil. Genuinely think is essentially evil. And it's not. It's a technology. There are some things which are not great. The fact that someone can go out and buy every GPU on the market and then sit it in the farm and have it eke away, gigawatts of power and create a whole bunch of carbon footprint in the process, that is bad. That is not a great way to be. And I think we have to deal with that one way or another. I don't know what the way is. The issue is we can't just accept that as okay.
Yeah.
And that is wrong. So I don't know how we get past this, where I live in this lovely world where I deal with theory and work out how can we use that theory. If you're living in the world of, we're in a climate crisis, and we're sitting there talking about what can we do with great technology, which currently isn't being employed by the most scrupulous of people. Always, some people are great, others are not. I'm so balanced, aren't I?
But that's exactly the point. It all comes down to, how people use it. But it's not something that's going to be inherently predatory. And I know we had questions on the server yesterday about, what happens. Kickstarter said they're going to, allow this stuff, and then all of a sudden there was a ton of backlash, and I'm like, whoa. One, they're nowhere near deploying it. Two, it doesn't sound like they even know how they're going to do it yet. And three, it's just, you can't just assume it's going to be crazy. But I mean, the very real side effect was we had a developer on the server say, my target audience and my community is vehemently against, any of this stuff. And I'm currently raising money for my game on Kickstarter and Patreon. It's like, so what do I do? And I'm going to try to tie that back into what we're supposed to be talking about, because I mean, I know we've
let's just go a little bit further, because I think there's a couple of areas on this one that's worth talking about. So you look at the journey that Sebastian and Arthur at Sandbox have gone through. That was Sandbox was a fantastic mobile game, and now it's become a major player in terms of creating a pipeline between content creators, securing their rights and value, and selling land essentially on blockchain. That is I think a really good success story, showing a really talented team of people who just love making games, who have done an amazing job. Now part of Animoca Brands, I think it is. Yeah, I forget who it is. But anyway, I'm talking to Seb on Tuesday. Wednesday. Similarly, I'm talking to Tony Pierce, who's Reality Clash I mentioned earlier. John Lyon at Mythical Games, who, again, Mythical Games have done an amazing job. And also Mickey at Dapper Labs. Mickey used to work with me at Unity, and Dapper Labs has done amazing stuff with the CryptoKitties side of things. I've actually got Dean Takahashi as well joining me on this. So there's a bunch of people I'm going to get to talk to about exactly this topic. But what the difference is that these people are going, hang on a minute, what can I do with this stuff in a way that is authentically delivering a game experience? They're not just crypto bunnies. They're people who are real people who make games, who happen to also be into crypto.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to learn lessons from people like that first, in whether blockchain can do interesting things. The question is, can we take the people who are haters right now with us, or is the level of hate so strong that it's going to be tarnished, and we're going to have to sort of find other ways? my personal view is the kind of blockchain I'm interested in disappears because it's just a technology. It's a bit like saying what database you're using. How many people know what database are being used by game developers? What hosting company is being used by a game developer?
Well, they know when AWS goes down and none of the damn games work. So I mean, that's
part true. Sorry, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I won't argue that one. Not at the moment.
All right. So if you got a question for me or for Oscar, or Indy, who's hiding behind the scenes here, doing all the production stuff, pop it in chat. We will absolutely. Well, hell, we'll answer it. We've got one already. So from Twitch, any opinion on the future of gaming with AR glasses?
We've missed the year. Last year was supposed to be 2020 vision. It was supposed to happen. It was a bit early, to be honest. I actually genuinely believe in AR glasses taking it. I think this device will disappear eventually. However, when you talk to Ella, my business partner, she will refuse to ever wear glasses. So I'm a bit torn. My view is yes, AR will happen, but AR glasses have to be able to take into account my hands and not make me look like a glass hole in the process.
Yes,
that's the difficult one. I mean, are we annoying because we look at our phones all the time? If you look around you, you see people with their heads in the phones constantly. Is somebody walking around with their heads up? I kind of almost. I nearly wrote a science fiction short story about people wearing masks, full face masks.
Like Cobra Commander? Can we get those
that
you can actually see through?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm thinking that you'd have your avatar would appear on AR in this thing. Anyway, it was a stupid idea. But of course, the world would then look prettier as well because you'd have everything AR that you'd live in. So the world would fall apart in my science fiction world. Anyway, I definitely think there's something about that though. That why would you appear as you if everyone had AR glasses?
They have this whole singing. I'm assuming you have it in the UK because, as I have learned, we steal every damn TV show that you all have. But there's creative. Like a new, whatever, The Voice or singing competition where it's people in VR. I mean, avatars, and
I love it.
I don't think it would be. I just want to know what kind of technology Cobra Commander had for it to be able to constantly see through a steel or what looked like a steel face mask.
Yes,
but I wouldn't have a problem with that at all.
No. I mean, let's face it. How many people are complaining about wearing masks at the moment? That's just a bit of fabric, but yeah.
Well, that's a whole different ball.
Whole different ball game.
That's.
Let's just not go down the political pathway.
Yeah,
I think we both would like to in other times. But I mean, to the point about AR, I really am fascinated by the potential of. Currently, we do struggle with the fact that physicality is still important to us. Tapping on something and having a physiological reaction is interesting. Haptics with AR is a little bit more complicated and problematic. You can't really do vibration unless you maybe have wristbands that go with you or gloves or something, but you got to have them. And one thing we know is that plug-in game controllers don't really work. He says, having just over here somewhere, I've actually got the Razer ones on one of my old phones, which are fantastic for playing on Xbox Cloud Pass thing. Playing Fallout 76 on my phone via cloud streaming because of those controllers, fantastic. Anyway, I'm sidetracking. But the reason I'm sidetracking is we don't walk around with controllers, do we? Would we walk around with gloves that give us our interaction? I don't know. Maybe we would.
As long as they don't bring. I remember, if we want to put it into like, I'll say the Kentia Hall companies that I spent many years in at E3. But Kentia Hall was, for those of you who don't know, it's below the main halls, and it's there's a whole bunch of meeting. There's always a whole bunch of meeting rooms in there, or there were back when E3 was worth going to. But there was also all the off the wall random shit in there, and it was just fascinating to walk through there. And when we first had, haptic mice coming on, that would bump whatever. There was a company doing a technology that allowed you to smell the environment that you were in while you were playing a game. And I'm like, no, there's just in no way do I want that in my game. I don't want to smell
through the sewers.
Smells like, it's like
Wow. No, I do remember that. Didn't they have like sort of smell pods or something?
Yeah. It was a little thing you plugged in the back of your computer and you set it on your desk, and it was just like, oh my God.
No. Well, I know they do that at Disneyland, right?
But that's different. That's pleasant smell. If I could like have every game smell like fresh baked cookies, that's one thing.
Great.
I don't want to like gut a demon in Quake and then smell that shit. I mean, there's
brimstone.
Yes,
the power of brimstone.
Well, now they have like those VR rooms or whatever that you go in, and it's designed to whatever the 3D version of it is. And so they have like when you get next to a fire, they have a heater blowing on you, and
they had a commercial for that last night, and it was with a horror game, and the woman was in like a clear box and all this shit, and I was like, no, I mean, it's like under no circumstances do I want.
I did enjoy the Void. I used the Void a couple of years ago, and I really actually enjoyed being in that space and having that physical interaction of pulling a lever and pressing on a screen. Yeah, Red Dead Redemption. That farmyard smell.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sorry. I live in the country. I can smell horse shit anytime I want to. I don't choose to do it in my office. So I know we had a question earlier, Dad, and we got. So would it be possible? So this is going back to the AR glasses. Would it be possible that it might start with just running in Qualcomm and Bionic chipsets? So maybe in the future there will be a lot of demand in Android and iOS dev.
Yeah, maybe I'm not convinced of the. I'm not saying we won't have Bionic chipsets. I'm sure we will, but I think it's going to be the stuff like the NFT in your palm type thing. But let's face it, when you can get an NFT ring, why would you? I mean, at the moment we're thinking about the solutions rather than the problems, unfortunately. I love the idea of having something functional like AR glasses, because I genuinely think there's a whole bunch of really useful stuff that can happen. I have to wear glasses all the time, so for me, I think like you guys, it's no-brainer. Yeah, make my glasses more smart. Yes, please, thank you. I love that. But what I want,
as long as I don't look like a glass hole wearing them.
Yeah, but what I actually want is I want my glasses to be linked up to my LinkedIn, so that when I go to conferences, I have at least a fighting chance of remembering who the heck you are, because I've probably met you before, and I can't remember because I don't remember 10,000 people constantly.
That's where you and I are always very thankful for badges, and if we can't see the badge, then we're like, oh, it is so good to see you again, and you just act like you know who you're talking to for a minute. Yeah.
And the thing is, I will probably work it out after 10, 20 minutes. But I probably stopped talking to you by then. And then I go, oh, I worked with him 10 years ago. That is what happens to me all the time. Anyway, so that's what I want AR for. Ironically, not for games necessarily, for dealing with the fact that I'm an old man.
And I'm sure that the public consumption of facial recognition technology, in public spaces will not cause
any
problems at all.
No.
I mean, if LinkedIn could develop it, I'm 100% certain they would use it for good and keep it just within their platform.
Precisely. And just for good.
Yes.
Nothing else. Yeah. Frankly, though, I'd opt in on that. I'd opt in for LinkedIn to be able to use my face to have people recognize me personally.
But we've talked about this before. You, Ed Dilly, and back in the day, Tommy Tallarico are three of the people that you can constantly find at a conference, because you with the hat, Tommy with the oh my god suits all the time. And Ed, and he's actually stopped doing it. Ed's a good friend of mine. He's actually stopped doing it at conferences, but he used to always have the straw hat, the Bahama hat, and Hawaiian shirts, and you could constantly find it. And there's a couple other guys, but I can't remember Eric's last name, from Germany, who was like 6'8", and you know who I'm talking about too, don't you?
Yeah.
Always easy to find at a conference as well.
I need my LinkedIn app to remind me who it is.
So do I. No worries there. All right. So from the Discord. Oh, look at you, Dan, on the top of this shit. Hopefully this question is on topic for the episode. What types of things drive motivation for developers, in your opinions? How important is it for developers to be passionate about their work?
So I do like this, actually. And this does get us back to why are we making games, which is obviously the thing we were aiming for at the beginning. It's a really difficult one, because I think it's very difficult to make a game as a designer that you're not passionate in. I have done it. For example, it turns out I'm not a football fan. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a sport. I don't do sport. I appreciate it. I appreciate it from a distance, but I'm not your obsessive sport fan. But I've actually ended up working on a couple of football games, soccer games, and done okay, and actually done pretty well. So it's amazing how, even if it's not a topic that you're interested in, you should be able to find something about the problem that you're interested in. And I think that passion, that enthusiasm is really motivating. But at the end of the day, if you're only relying on the motivator of your passion, you can't look at it abstractly. You can't look at it as a problem to solve as easily, because you're going to have your biases. And if you're only motivated by the dollar bill, as I can see, dollar bills, y'all. If you're only motivated by the dollar bill, you're probably not going to do as good a job, because you don't have the perspective of why the audience cares. I actually think the motivator for me is satisfying a player. And that's why I come back to what we said earlier. Who are you making it for? Because if I can imagine this person is not me that I'm making a game for, and I can solve the problem, because that's basically what game design is all about, is solving a problem in an entertaining way that comes out with a joy for that player. Now I've got a motivator. Now I've got something I can really dig into. So it's a tough one. I think that even code, I think everyone on the team needs to be motivated. Obviously, you're not going to get the best work if you're not. But it's the sense of common endeavor that should be the driver. That's helped if the specific topic matter is also of interest to the people. At least some of the people on the team have to be absolutely dedicated to that particular thing. My personal view is I love making all kinds of games because I'm genuinely fascinated by game mechanics. That's my obsession. And I play everything I can get my hands on. So I'm interested in applying what different mechanics from different things can do for new games, regardless of what that game is. But other people will have different ways of doing it. Does that make sense?
So from someone who spent a large chunk of his career leading teams who do licensed work for hire projects, I can tell you
exactly where I'm going.
with 100% accuracy, yes, you can create games based on Strawberry Shortcake and Holly Hobby and Dora the Explorer if you're not passionate about it. Are they good? No, they're not. And that's why.
But it could be. It could be good.
They could be, yes.
But less likely.
You have to find somebody. And I have worked on some that we were passionate about. And one of the most favorite games that I ever worked on was with the production company, my first startup company. And we did a game for National Geographic based around ghost wrecks we call it ghost fleets, but the sunken ships off the eastern seaboard of the U.S. And because it was with National Geographic, everything had to be, dead on accurate. But we created a hidden object game where you had to go find these shipwrecks, and it used actual, photographs and all this stuff from the bricks, and I was fascinated with it. It was like one of the most defining, joyous moments of my entire career when I was standing at we were in the National Geographic headquarters in DC, and my friend's like, just go down to the map room and get whatever you need. Just tell them, to put it to our group. And I'm like, you're going to turn my ass loose in the National Geographic map room, and I can take whatever I want.
Wow.
Yes. This is without a doubt.
Oh my, that just sounds like heaven. I mean,
it was honestly one of those things that you could see, the clouds parted and there was a glow that came straight down. And I was like, oh my God, yes. But
this is where we need Kate Edward, because she'd be completely obsessed, and
I'm sure Kate probably made some of them. I'm not.
That's fair. That's fair. I love it.
That's probably a given. But I mean, yes, you can do it. But the reason most licensed games are bad, especially kids games, is because that motivation that they have is not the property, it's not the license. The motivation is money, and you get the money, you hit your milestones, and you get this thing out the door. And so
you ship it.
Yeah, long-winded answer. All right, did we have another question? I thought we had another question.
We didn't.
Oh, okay. I'm just reading comments.
There's a comment here about stupid game dev making something fun requires fuel for creativity process, and this means money, effort. I kind of get that, but I think that I think one of the joys about making games is that we get to work in an industry where our objective is this weird combination between this ephemeral thing called fun, this crazy kind of pattern matching process of psychology that we play, the play space we operate in, and the technology elements that we do. Each of those three pieces we're being paid to do. And I think that people overestimate the usefulness of motivation by money. Motivation by money gets you to a certain degree. But once you get beyond that certain degree, once you get beyond the point where you have a living wage and enough to think about what you're going to do next, I think you start seeing a diminishing return from additional cash. You couldn't just throw thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars at a person and see each time you drop another grand that their productivity increases by a similar amount each time. That doesn't happen if you don't have a core motivator. If they're not, so I don't take on contracts unless I've got something plus money. So I've got to be learning something, I've got to be networking, I've got to be doing a favor for somebody, I've got to be doing something where I'm getting insight. If I'm not doing something plus money, I'm not going to do a good job, and it's not worth it because there are other ways of getting money.
You're not engaged with it. I mean, especially with you and I at this point in our careers, and we're consultants, we need to be engaged and interested and passionate. We have the very same thing here. It's like we don't work with games that we don't believe in. We don't work with companies that I can't, look at something and go, okay, this technology that you're creating or whatever it is something that's new and interesting, and I think this can actually make a difference. Yeah, because if you're just sitting there doing it for the paycheck, yes, you can do it. You're just not. You're not going to be nearly as good at it or as effective at it.
And I think it's not just the motivation thing, though. It's also the perspective thing. I think we often forget that bit as well.
Oh, wait, go up to Calix's point, because they have a really good point. Because this is 100% true. If you like your game too much, you could be blind to some of its issues. If you don't like it at all, it might be hard to figure out what to do so other people like
That's my career.
Yeah, falling in love with your ideas is bad, right?
That's me. That's my entire self. That's why I'm not sitting here with piles of cash. Because I sink all my cash into passion projects that are completely stupid because I can.
Well, every now and then
I learn a lot.
You wake up in the middle of the night and you call the one streamer that you know in the entire world to go, let's make a Twitch channel. And, then 3 years later, here you are. And people are like, so what do you do with the profits? It's like, well, it pretty much goes into, all this other that we do.
It's like, because so my passion project was the Rocky Horror Show. I mean, the theatre show, not the film. I have the rights to the Rocky Horror Show, and built.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I have the rights to the Rocky Horror Show as a game, and I don't have.
Where's
the
the game,
to
Oscar?
finish the project. I ran out of money, so we went down a particular path. We stuffed up some of the design, learned tons about rhythm action games, but couldn't raise the money to complete it. We actually had a successful Kickstarter.
Transylvania.
There is no way we can't find somebody to finance this.
Yeah, I have not managed to do it. I have the weird thing about Rocky Horror, just going down the road, is that it's the least targetable audience I've ever experienced. There are amazing fans of Rocky Horror. However, there's not one type of person. It's like 10% of everybody. So, you talk about everybody as your wrong audience. Turns out the worst audience than everybody is an audience which is made up of 10% of everybody. Because you can't even find everybody. I mean, that's not fair. I mean, it was a very just sorry. I don't know if I can show you. I'll show you. Actually, there you go. I've got. I produced that, which is the original demo tape that Richard O'Brien did, put onto vinyl as one of our Kickstarter items that we did. So yeah, I'm a massive Rocky fan. It was great when it all began. I was a regular Rocky fan. I had the plan to make a Kickstarter and run a game development program. I could almost make a song out of that. But yeah, genuinely, we have the rights, still have the assets. We did a great deal of work. We had the team behind the concept art for No Man's Sky were also the guys who did the concept art for us for the Rocky game.
Cool.
So yeah, we had some, so Christian Bravery and his team at the time did a whole bunch of work for us. Really cool characters. So that riffraff.
Well, we already have $20 more. Katie on Discord says they have $20 and they will put towards a Rocky Horror.
That's
game.
Great.
So
I just need another 50,000 of you.
Oscar, let's talk about this later because there's yes, we can do
and
this.
It's one of those things. I like, and it's one of those things because I think we just missed the 40th anniversary. Oh no, wait, I can't remember. No, 50th anniversary is coming up.
And I think it's on Netflix now.
So, yeah. Well, there's remember this is the theatre show, not the film.
Right.
Although Richard O'Brien was in the film, there is a massive fallout between Fox and him. He gets nothing from any video, Blu-ray, or other sales from the film. Literally zero. But it is the only box office movie still on general release. It's the longest running box office movie in the world. It's shown regularly in cinemas. I think at least one city in every state in the US once a month. At least one city in every state. It's shown in Germany and Berlin, I think, every month. UK shows it every week in I forgot what the cinema it is, but basically,
I don't know what the game would be like.
We went for a rhythm action game, swipes and taps. The idea of basically, originally we were trying to make it so it was user generated dances.
I was thinking a 5-player asymmetrical murder game, but
that'd be great as long as it was with a chainsaw or a pickaxe.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. Yeah. There's so many things we want to do with it. Karaoke.
So I just got this from Jennifer on my team, who I have worked with for forever, and she is the one who does the pitches to the publishers and all this other stuff, and she just says, "Yes, I can pitch this game." I can't wait to write the YouTube summary for this episode. because
Yeah, so basically that's how Ella and I got working. I mean, we were doing bits together before that, but it was what consolidated our working relationship. It's how we know how much fun or not doing Kickstarters can be, because we did a Kickstarter for Rocky Horror, which was a free-to-play mobile game, and succeeded. I don't think that many people can say they took a free-to-play mobile game on Kickstarter and succeeded.
Wow.
That's why I'm.
But it was the most work for the least money in my life.
Yes.
South by Southwest in March. Make it happen here.
Yeah.
Right here, right now.
All right. So on this wild journey that we've taken,
yeah,
which is just absolutely the culmination of.
But there was the answer to the question of where you go wrong. I wanted to make a Rocky Horror game for me, and we failed because we couldn't get it through the line, and we made mistakes and didn't have enough cash to keep it going.
You haven't failed. You just haven't been successful yet.
I'm paused. I'm currently paused.
We're gonna fix this shit. That's something we're gonna fix.
Has to be done.
All right. So we are, at the tail end of our time, and Oscar, it's Friday night for him, and so he's going to be going out on the town, I'm sure. Like all of us.
Have you heard about
Britain? Our age.
We're all locked down again, almost. Not quite, but virtually.
So, if you've got any final parting questions for me or Oscar or Dan or anybody on this eccentric little panel that we have going here, pop up in chat and we'll get them answered. From Scotto on Twitch, outside of developing games, what do you guys do in your peacetime or somehow for inspiration? Mine is cycling.
What is peacetime? Someone? No, I'm kidding. I mean, I am a bit obsessive, so I play games for fun still. Run D&D, things like that. I'm supposed to be running. I try to run the London 10K every year for Special Effect, which is a charity for people who've got physical disability, and it helps them play on a level playing field with other people. A fantastic charity, Special Effect. I'm an ambassador for them. They're amazing. But I mean, to be honest, I think writing is probably the thing that I find the best value from, because I lock down if I don't do something like writing. And if I'm writing, at least I can get out something which is just mine, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's me.
So I too, I play games. It's like I've got a family, and then we all do stuff together. We play some board games together. My son and I, particularly play a lot of video games together, to the point that I can't keep up with what he's playing at a given time. But that's one of those things that it's like, I have an immense amount of respect for Genshin Impact. And if it were not for my son, I wouldn't. I would just be looking at it like as some, random free-to-play game that happens to be ridiculously successful. But having played that and played some other games with him that I wouldn't normally have played, I am 100% impressed, and just with what they did with that game, that they took something that everybody expected to be just a whatever gotcha free-to-play game, and they've turned it into something. It's got a great story. It's wonderful. You play it as a solo, but I do that, and then I get outdoors, and I will say harvest my own meat for dinner. And the fun part about that is, half the time when I go out there, it's like, I'm sitting in a blind or tree stand with a book, and I'm just relaxing. And if something comes out, then fine. And if I don't see anything the whole time I'm there, you know what? That's fine too. So yeah, that's me. What about you, Dan? Because we've never had this question come up.
I ride motorcycles. Motorcycles, and
you couldn't tell that from looking at him.
Right here.
No,
right
I couldn't
here.
imagine.
Yeah, I hang out with bikers. Right here, I do this right here, and I'll be live in a couple hours. So you guys,
what are you playing today?
Talk and video games. What
are you playing today?
Let me look at my calendar. Some devs hooked me up with games, which is awesome. I'm always down for playing indie games. Let's see. today I have on my schedule the game Witchwood.
Oh.
And Icarus First Cohort.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I saw Witchwood. I've been actually watching that one passively for some time.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and we really appreciate this. Oscar, this is your chance. Plug your stuff.
What do I start? Obviously, we're Fundamentally Games. We're a living game publisher. We're interested in games that have got this kind of ongoing engagement. PC, mobile primarily. I spent a lot of time on shows and podcasts and things like that. I did a lot of hosting for Pocket Gamer events in particular. And like I say, I'm going to be out doing the blockchain World WW conference next week, where I'm going to be interviewing some fantastic people like Tony Pierce at Reality Clash, Sebastian from the Sandbox, John from Mythical Games, and Mickey from Dapper Labs, as well as Dean Takahashi from VentureBeat, who is going to be joining us as well. So I get to do all sorts of fun things. So check me out. I'm at Athanasius, which is ATHANATEUS. Yes, it's a weird name. It's because it was a D&D character. And in 1998, that was the normal thing you did, but I have put it everywhere. So I have to keep it. It means basically immortal. And my favorite story about that is when the Jonas Brothers split up. One of the, I think it was, I forgot which Jonas, but one of the Jonas Brothers did this very weird tweet that was simply to do an at my name, at Athanasius. That was the weirdest moment of my life, where 3 million Jonas Brothers fans went completely crazy because he went missing and the band split up that night.
And then all of a sudden you were the one in charge.
Apparently I was connected. It was the weirdest thing of my life. It's because Athanasius means immortal. Anyway,
I can completely relate to anyone who has ever seen my online handle. It was the result of trying, I don't even know how many different AOL logins before I found one that worked. And that's the one I have stuck with my entire life. So, as always, if you have more questions, we're on the Discord server. Oscar's on our Discord server. And I think that's it for right now. I do not believe we are going to have another live show until January. We're all shutting down here, but Dan is currently processing and editing and getting all of the sessions from last week onto the podcast, and those will be dripping out, over the next few weeks. But in terms of live, find us on the Discord, find us on social media, and say hi. And I will say to everyone, have a wonderful holiday, have a wonderful new year, and we love you. Thanks for letting us do what we do.
Yeah, and you can always come hang out at my channel, twitch.tv/indie. Yeah.
Yes. And you can give names to Indy, and he will play them and promote them for you too.
So, that's right, for free. Just if I want to play it.
If I want
right?
We might have one for you.
All right, send it.
Yes, we might. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys. And
have a wonderful break, and we will see you in 2022.